welcome to Law Moms Out Loud. I'm Kate Lincoln Goldfinch with Hannah Hembry Bell as always, and our very, very special guest. We are so excited to have Erika Ferenczi, and I'm going to give a little bit of a deep intro about how we know Erika and how we found Erika. So
we're the most excited.
Like
here, Erika, thank you.
We were like, I don't know if you've seen it. We've been posting stories and stuff. We've been so excited about this.
Well, and the other thing is, this is a very big monumental Law Moms Out Loud Day because we have a live studio audience.
We do.
And that, I know, all right, yay. We're so glad some of our friends who are at this conference with us are here. So anyway, very big shout out to them. We'll probably hear from them a little bit along the way.
Yeah, and as always, put your questions in the comments. We'll bring them up, we'll talk about them, and we'll have live questions as well at the other camera. So many of y'all know that Hannah and I both run law firms. Hannah does estate planning and divorce law, and I do immigration and bankruptcy law. And we, learn about how to run our law firms. And that's one of the ways that we connected and found each other. So a lot of lawyers also know that we are not taught how to run law firms like a business. When we go to law school, we don't have an entrepreneurial background. We just don't know that stuff. So 6 years ago, I was going from being an associate in a firm to thinking about launching my own law firm. And I went to this local CLE with this company called How to Manage a Small Law Firm. And I was like, what is going on? Like, the conversation was something I had never heard before. It was talking about different levels of your business. And if you're at this level, this is probably what your life looks like. And you probably want this level of freedom, but you probably can't because these are the problems that you're having. And on one level, it was like deeply speaking to me. And on another level, it was very foreign to any conversation that I had ever had with any other lawyer. But thankfully, I took the plunge and went to the Discovery Day and signed up for How to Manage a Small Law Firm. And I've been in the program now. This is my 6th year. And I credit this organization for teaching me what I needed to know to grow the law firm. And
I got here because Kate said it's real good. And I said, oh, okay, sign me up.
See,
I'm an easy sell.
You were friends before. I didn't know
yes,
that.
we were friends before. Right,
I'm a reluctant student. It's something I'm working on. It takes me 6 years to do what Hannah can do.
In 60 seconds. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So one of the things, though, that we learn in How to Manage a Small Law Firm is that personal growth is connected to professional growth. You cannot grow your business without also developing yourself. And so Hannah and I have been in this program with How to Manage a Small Law Firm that's called Practical Profitable Mindset.
It's hard to get out every time.
And it's a daily program where we talk about personal growth and personal development and mindset. And Erika is one of the guides in this program and is one of the queens. The title is Director of Programs at How to Manage a Small Law Firm.
We call her Queen E.
We watch people throw questions at her daily. And this woman has got things to share. And we're so excited that you took the time out. We're here at the live quarterly meeting for How to Manage a Small Law Firm. Erika's very, very busy this weekend, and she's here with us to talk to us and to talk to y'all. And so,
well, and I think what I'm going to invite everybody to do for just a second is just to really root in to this conversation. Take a deep breath. We've all been running around. And Kate and I literally drove up from Austin, up 35. I kind of peeked at the speedometer and I saw we were getting pretty close to 3 digits at a few points because we were
really?
going to get here.
I
didn't say anything. I was very cool. Just be cool. But anyway,
it's
that's
the Bronco. That thing's just tough.
My number one skill, obviously all of y'all know this already, is to just be cool. Just play it cool. So everybody just take a second because some of the things that I've heard Erika say have changed my life. And I don't say that lightly. I really say that sincerely. So if you'll let it, whether you're here, our friends who are here already know this because they already know Erika, but some of you who are watching from home really can. So I think the first thing, I'm just such a question asker by nature. If you know me in life, you're like, Hannah, please, with the questions. But
I don't know
that says that. I don't know. Maybe my husband. Here, Drew. He's watching at home, hopefully.
All of our husbands.
Yes, I know. Whenever we Kate and I had the idea, do you think we could ask Queen E to be on our show?
I like it.
And so we wrote her an email. Anyway. And we have to come up with a little tagline, right, for y'all to want to watch, to put on a social media thing. What is this going to be? And so my idea at first was enjoying the journey, because that's one of the things that we'd recently been talking about. And Erika had given me some good guidance on just learning to enjoy. But Erika, you wrote back and changed that a little bit to today's title, which is How to Overcome Anything That Life Throws at You. So what made you decide, hey, let's take this a little bit of a different direction?
Yeah, for sure. So first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's just amazing to be here with you, with all of these beautiful people and everyone that is looking at us or watching us. What made me change the title is I think that it is just fundamental to enjoy the journey. It really is. I think that if we don't enjoy the journey, we're just going to miss out on life. But the reality is that the majority of people out there in the world, they are experiencing hard things.
Mhm.
They're going through whatever, divorce, sicknesses, loss of jobs, not enough money, lack of health, whatever it is. And I think before people can enjoy the journey, they need to either overcome or understand what they're going through and the struggle, because just dismissing the struggle is not going to make it. It's not going to cut it. So let's start with learning to overcome obstacles and what life throws at us. And then when we do that, enjoying the journey becomes so much easier.
So I like to ask, when you get a bomb dropped on you, someone you love is sick.
Where are the tissues?
I know. I have some. If
Oh
we
my
need to,
God.
I'll go dig them out of my bag.
Yeah,
Here
yeah,
we
yeah.
go.
We already got them out once.
Yeah,
today.
divorce lawyers, we carry tissues in our pocket at all times. You never know when someone's going to burst into tears.
And you guys, everybody knows that feeling, like everything just drains out the bottom of your feet.
Yeah.
And you're like, in the moment, you're supposed to look for the lesson or whatever, but like, what do you do in the moment?
In the moment, you can't find a lesson. You really can't. And the problem is that most of the times this bombs or this situations just come out of left field. You just didn't expect it. And I think at the moment, all you have to do or can do is just breathe. Just remember that you're alive and just breathe in.
Mm-hmm.
I remember my son right now, we have 4 children, but one of them is 17 right now. And when he was, I think, 6 years old or 7, he fell. Well, he jumped and broke his arm. And I was panicking. My husband was not in town. I was alone. And I just called my best friend. It's like my best friend is a pediatrician in ER, the ER.
That's handy.
Not in Miami. Not in Miami, though. So I just called him. He's like, Brian, this happened. He said, breathe, Erika. Just breathe. Right. And then he walked me through what I had to do to take my son to the doctor because the arm was broken and it was a lot of pain. So breathe, just breathe and remember that you're alive and just take it one step at a time. Sometimes when something happens that overwhelming, you feel like it's just the floor just got out of you, just taken away from you. And it's very unsettling. So I would say start by breathing.
How'd you learn that?
What? To breathe?
Well, no, yeah.
It's a skill you have to
well,
learn.
That's
by
what
the
I
way.
mean. I mean, that is the natural reaction, I think, particularly for moms, for us, is to panic. I know that if something goes down or some kids broke their arm or jumped off the roof or whatever, their natural reaction is going to be to freak out.
Yeah.
And so did something in particular happen?
Yes.
Is there a journey that got you to the point where you learned to not be the panicker and instead to be the one that everybody can rely on to take the breath?
Yeah. So yes. But the answer, I think it's a combination of personality, but there's also a combination of life journey. I believe that when something really bad happens and you're 5, you're freaking out because you think you're going to die. A mentor of mine once says, the reason why kids cry so much is because they don't understand the pain is going to go away.
Yeah.
Like the pain is temporary, right? And the more and the older you are and the more mature you are, you understand that most of it won't be fatal. But when you're younger, you just don't know. So what happened as I was growing up, you asked me what happened to me. Just life is just, I think, very wise. My parents divorced when I was 6 and I was an only child at the moment. Then I had a brother. But I was basically taking care of my house since I was probably 8 or 9. And of course I lived in Mexico. I am originally from Mexico City. So just people in Mexico City live different than in US. So we had, domestic help and drivers and a lot of things. So I had all this support system, but my mom was always working, always working. So I guess I just learned to be responsible. and just learn to be mature. And that had its cost, obviously, because there's a part of childhood that you don't fully experience. But I remember one day, my brother was, I don't even know, 10 maybe, and I must have been around 20. He was younger then because I wasn't 20. Anyhow, we had this house, and the house had a humongous door, the front door, a very heavy wood door. And he wanted to go play tennis. So he went in the house, just grabbed his tennis rackets and ran through the door. And when he ran through the door, he pulled the door, but the door caught his finger.
Oh, that hurts
And
inside.
he ran, so the finger literally detached.
Oh my God.
So I remember that my mom watched that. So she said, "Come on." So she turned on the faucet for him, and she sees the finger almost coming off, and she starts panicking.
Yeah.
And then in that moment, I said, "I can't panic. I just need to take control." I don't know. I was 15 maybe. And I ran up the stairs. I grabbed like a shoelace. I made a tourniquet. I grabbed her purse. I said, "I have the purse, have the car keys. Let's go to the hospital right now." So I don't know. It's just a little bit of personality and a little bit of, the things that life
Experience.
throws at you. But if I could say something to mothers, is don't overprotect your children. Don't overprotect your children. Don't overprotect them from pain and life. Just show them how to deal with life. Just be there, but let them have the experience, because the more that you can help them mature and understand that they can overcome hard things, I believe the stronger they will be when they.
Well, it's funny
grow.
you mentioned that, because Kate and I were talking about that on the way here. And I think just in my work, and I know I see at least one other divorce lawyer in this room, whenever people get divorced or are children of divorce, you're no longer what I call a four corners family. And I call a four corners family when everybody's still married, and isn't that sweet, and you're a closed system. And there's this idea, Kate and I were talking, because she's in a closed system, I'm not in a closed system. And so the closed system, I think moms and dads too, there were some law paws in the room here. And we can have this idea in our closed system that we have so much more control of our children and their outcomes and everything that happens. And we have a lot more influence because they're in our little system and we can make all these things move around. But when your system opens, lots of other factors come in. They go over to their dads. They go over to their moms. They have experiences in their life you know nothing about and can't control. So I think one of the things with getting divorced, one of those difficulties, and maybe what you experience too, is just like in thinking with kids and letting them experience, they're on their own journey. Like, I think that Kate and I were talking about, like, how when you're in this closed system, your children can feel derivative of you, or almost like a footnote to your life, versus they actually are their own entire research paper. They have their own journey. And Kate, when we were talking about that, does that resonate with you, like in the distinction?
Oh, totally. Well, and I'm thinking about an exchange we had recently up at the mic when I was talking about my daughters are 9 and 4, and I was saying I feel daily grief, at how quickly and how much they're changing, and particularly the 9-year-old. She's in 3rd grade now, and the social stuff starts happening, and it's a completely different. When your kids are little, you're keeping them safe and you're keeping them fed and you're giving them love, and then they become more complex beings.
Oh yeah.
And it's really hard. It's really hard to transition from that phase to the next one. That's the particular one I'm in.
Yeah.
And it's like,
you know what? I think it's really hard, and I hear you, because I remember one day, I think when up until they are 10, at least in my experience, it's like they're still kids. They hit that 11 and 12, and they're not yet like full-blown teenagers, but they are no longer kids, right? And I remember feeling that. It's like, the loss, right? And again, I've been so blessed through my life with different mentors, friends, and just beautiful, I call them angels. I think that they were just sent to me in difficult moments. But I was with one of these friends, and she said, "Can you just change your focus?" Instead
At
of
that age? Is that what you mean? Like around 11? Okay.
Because I was having this meltdown. It's like, my baby, my kid, he's not a kid. I'm losing him. Like, what is happening, And because I saw how he started speaking differently, and his voice, it was weird. And she said, "Could you just look at him and marvel at the miracle? Can you marvel at the miracle that you've been part of creating? And can you just be and accompany him in his journey, knowing that you're not losing anything? You're actually gaining more of who he truly is because he's becoming.
Yes, amen on that.
Oh my goodness. And that was very profound. So I just wanted to say
It's
there's
interesting to see that, because I've got my oldest is about to turn 15, and then I've got a 13-year-old, 12-year-old. Hi, Sawyer, it's his birthday today. And then a little baby. So I'm redoing the spectrum. So I have like an almost 15-year-old and a 14-month-old. And to see that journey as they get to be 15 and 16, like, oh, they're this whole little complex, nuanced person who's going to have their mess ups and their
challenges.
Yeah, you start to transition. Maybe it is about I think when it's little boys, to me, little boys at like 8, when they become 8, they become big. Like at 8, they won't hold your hand in the parking lot anymore. So
I wasn't
sad.
invited to
Break
the
a
field
heart.
middle school. They break your heart already.
Kill me.
Mom,
kill me.
don't kiss me. Don't kiss me. I love you.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom. Yes.
Okay, so we want to hear a little bit more about your journey,
Yeah.
like professionally and personally. How did you become who you are?
Queen E.
Oh my!
How did we get to
goodness.
queen
I
status?
can't believe you call me that.
It's
By
gonna
the way,
we all
I
do
believe
now.
that all of you are queens. Like all of you women that are looking, all of you are queens. How did I become? You mean like what?
Here's what
Personally,
she's asking.
professionally.
Like
Everything. It's too much.
Tell us from the beginning. No, I think what we're getting at is like, can you share a little bit, sort of like what you would do bio, almost like a little bit of how you got, because you've had such professional success, and we love that about you, which is awesome. But the story doesn't end there. To me, I see even just how much I know about you. Like I see this like otherworldliness come out of you, this wisdom that has nothing to do with the finances and the money and the stuff that you're really good at. It's this other part.
Yes.
So tell us like sort of the journey, and like at what point was it not just about numbers?
From the
Yeah.
perspective of the people who are watching, who see this in you, we can see this in you, and we want to see how it happens. How does someone?
How do you do that?
Well, okay. Let's start with the beginning. Just a little bit of background. I grew up like everybody grows up, in the regular world. I call it the regular world, right? Grew up, wanted to be a teacher, went to school. My parents divorced. I had my, I just went through middle school and high school, just the normal stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I was in high school, I remember that one of my subjects in high school was psychology. And I remember sitting down in that school room, mesmerized at the concepts. I was like, holy cow.
I love it.
Oh my God.
And I love psychology too.
And I remember we had this phenomenal psychologist that was our I guess, guidance counselor. And I ran to her and said, I want to be a psychologist. This is amazing. And she was so happy. And I ran home and I said, Mom, I want to be a psychologist. And she looked at me and she said, okay. I was like, I don't see you very happy. And she's like, it's not, you can be whatever you want. But she said, she's an accountant. My father's an accountant. She said, if you study business administration, you can do whatever you want in life. I was like, okay. So she said, you can work anywhere. So I just decided, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this business thing. So I love math, and I was a little bit of a nerd in the definition of Mexico. It's not nerd like you're antisocial or whatever they call it here in the States. It's just, I just love to study. I love books. I love to study. Good grades, not great at the beginning. Anyhow, so just normal life. So I went to school, studied business administration, specialized in finance and marketing, and started my life in that world, working for pharmaceutical companies, Fortune 500 companies, marketing, sales, finances, all that. And then, as it happens, like life throws you a curveball, and I talk about this in my book. And then
Wait, you have a book?
I do have a book. You didn't know?
No.
Do we have a merch table at the back for the love?
No, we cannot run to the back of the room.
For tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Oh my God.
It's called Beyond the Lies: The Ways Women Sacrifice Freedom by Relying on Others.
Ooh.
And
For real.
What?
But hang on just a minute.
Okay.
Do you have this book here? Like, where is the book? How
the
do we
book,
get the
you
book?
can buy it in Amazon. You just go in Amazon.
Add to cart.
Yes.
Y'all
Beyond
keep
the lies.
talking. I got to get this in my car.
Okay, but listen, this is just
Okay,
you
okay.
get it later.
Okay.
I'll give you a
I'm
copy.
gonna write it on Kate's
Give you a
paper.
copy.
Erica's book. Okay, keep going.
So
A book. We didn't.
I know.
oh
I know.
my goodness. Okay,
I'm
I'm
like
glad with that.
I'm writing the
interviewers
second
are
book, by the way.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Okay,
Okay.
second book. Okay.
And we can,
Where were
we can be on your tour.
Yes, yes, we can.
When
do
you have a book
tour.
tour. Okay. You were
Where
telling
were
us
we?
about the journey.
Oh, the journey.
You're the
Okay,
book,
so
the
I
book.
was the youngest manager in the company that I worked for, just handling large brands, marketing brands. I was, I don't know, 24, 25, leading, 45, 50-year-old men doing marketing and sales forever. And I was there, and it was hard to earn their respect, but it was beautiful. So I always say, I'll say in my book, I changed the first class ticket, high heels, and trips around the world for breastfeeding, changing Pampers, and following my husband around the world. That's what happened. I just, women, I fell in love. I met this man and I fell in love, and we got married, and he got relocated to another country. So I needed to make the decision of whether I was going to follow my career or follow my heart. And it was really hard because my mom was divorced and she was kind of alone up to this day. She never really truly rebuilt her life. And it was so important for me to create that family unit.
Yeah.
So
With your
my
inner tug of your own space.
Journey.
Your own, like,
at that moment, I just wanted a job.
yeah.
Like
okay.
I wasn't even thinking about anything else.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I was very left brain, like I said, marketing, numbers, and all of that, with a love for psychology that I really never explored towards that moment. And so I remember going to my mom one day and saying, Mom, I don't want to get married. I just don't want to leave. I don't want to leave everything that I've built. I've built this life, and I had a fabulous life.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I was traveling around the world with cardiovascular surgeons and just learning a bunch of things and having the time of my life. And she said, no problem. Don't get married. Like, you don't have to get married. Nobody is pushing, just don't worry. And then she said, the only thing I'm going to tell you is in 2 months, when you're walking down the street and you see your love with someone else, don't come crying to me.
Oh, stingy. Stingy mom. She's got good one-liners.
Oscar,
she
if
has
you're
good
watching, have you
one-liners.
thanked your mother-in-law?
Yes. We are talking about Oscar, right?
We're talking
I thought it was like
That's
a
Oscar.
prior.
Yes.
Rico or something.
Yeah. No, that's Oscar.
Okay.
And they love each other, by the way. He
Of
loves his mother-in-law. Anyhow, so I was like, oh my goodness. And in that second, I was like, I can't do that. So I need to get married. So I got married and I relocated, but oh my God, little did I know.
I
what
always
my
say it's a
life was
good
gonna
thing
be.
you
Oh.
didn't know before you had to do what you had to do, or
Oh
you
my
never
goodness
would have done
gracious.
it.
I really would not.
Oh, I feel
Oh
you
my
on
God.
that.
I
Mm.
cried for like years, at least 2 years, every single day.
Wow.
And I cried not because I didn't love the man, but because I didn't like my life. My mom is a really strong woman, always independent, working. She always instilled in me, like, you can't be dependent on other people. You need to have your own money. You need to have your own life. I didn't have my own money. I didn't have my life. I didn't have a job. I didn't have kids at the moment. I didn't have anything but him.
It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, and he is still a workaholic. So he was always working, and it was very hard. So it was the first thing that got me to really try to find myself. There needs to be a reason to what is happening. And so anyhow, then I had children, and it was even worse because motherhood opens you up to all sorts of garbage. You just really, well, at least me, I faced all my fears, all my insecurities. And I felt totally alone in this country, that it was 10 hours away from my house. I didn't have my mom. I didn't have my grandma. I didn't have anything. So horrendous. Anyhow, and completely in love with my child. But then, it was hard. So anyhow, at some point, and then we would relocate every year to year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard
What
to
a
start
sacrifice.
over.
Oh, start over. You didn't even know where to buy meat or where the
Yeah.
supermarket was, right?
Yeah.
Like, men, I love them, but they just relocate from one office to the other office, and they have this team of people that they set everything up for them.
Yeah.
And then they just relocate from one office to the other, and you have to rebuild your life again. So in all of these countries, I was looking for a job and I was trying to work and all of this, and nobody would give me a job because they were small countries, Latin America. Everybody knows who you are. You know, the expat community is not that big. So they knew who I was. They knew who my husband was. And I was always the wife of. So forget about your identity, like nothing. I was the wife of. Just like, I hated that. So one thing got to the other. And then again, the book, I woke up one day, my son was, I don't know, 3 maybe. My daughter, not even a year, a little bit under a year. And I literally, it was 7:00 in the morning, stood up on my bed, woke up, went to the restroom, opened the restroom. I saw myself in the mirror and I was like, can I curse or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
No FCC regulation.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have to curse because that day my exact words were, how did I become the woman that I never want to become? How did I end up here? And I broke down in tears. I'm going to cry. Broke down in tears. Nothing was working. I wasn't happy as a mom. I was doing a good job because I love my children, but I was not happy. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a penny to my name. I had a good financial position, but it was all because of his work.
Yeah.
I didn't have any freedom, or I didn't feel like I had freedom. Like I was overweight. I was miserable. And I was like, no, I need to do something. I need to change my life. And I literally fell down to the floor and I started praying. I am not a very religious person. I'm very, very spiritual, but I'm not very religious. And I started praying. I said, please, God, help me. Just help me because I don't know what to do. And, I'm in love with the book, Joseph Campbell, the hero with 1,000 faces. And it's that hero's journey that when you fall to your feet and you feel like you're just completely destroyed, there's just magical mentors and guides that appear in your life. So literally the next day, the phone rings and it's a friend that I've made in one of these countries. And she said, Erika, there is this talk that a woman is giving that is called Women Who Love Too Much. I was like, that's me. It's just this thing about women, just fall in love and we just give and give and give so much.
Yeah.
So it's like, I need to get into that talk. Can you give me a ticket? So anyhow, she got me a ticket. I drove with her and I was just sitting there looking at what the woman was saying. I was like, that's me. That's me.
I'm it. I'm who this talk is for. Yeah.
I need help. And I remember I went to her at the end of the talk and I said, please, you have to help me. And she said, I can't help you. She was a psychologist. And so I can't help you. I can't work in this country. Like, I can't work with you. I was like, please, I beg you. I just hear me out for 5 minutes. Just tell me how much is it? What do I have to do? You need to help me. I'm dying. And she was like, okay, 5 minutes. So she gave me 5 minutes, and 5 minutes, she took me on as a client. And she literally saved my life. Oh my God. Anyhow, so that got
And
me
you
into...
know what that is too? You were willing to make a change. And I think women so often, like, we get so stuck. And like, I wrote down the word identity in what you're saying. And I think especially as we become mothers, we were talking about this today too. Motherhood has a way of infiltrating your, like, down to your marrow of your bones. And I think society, yes, and everything, like, expects us as mothers. When we become that, we lose the rest. And I think everybody with little young kids who's really in it goes, I mean, everything you're saying, I'm like, yes. And I think one big takeaway for anybody listening who's still in the throes of, like, I'm just a mom. I'm looking in the mirror. I still have 20 pounds of baby weight. I'm so unfair. Like all of this. And I feel like a big pile of crap. Like what you did, Erika, was to take that and to say, you know what, that the call came and you picked up the phone.
Yeah.
So, like, I think one big takeaway for all of us is if you ask for the help, the universe, God, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whoever you think of is going to show up, and you have to pick up the phone.
Yeah. Well, I suggest you do. Not everybody does.
Well,
but
yeah.
yes,
You should. I suggest.
Yes. So I prayed. I got the answer, and then I just grabbed it. just grabbed it. And she helped me a lot. She helped me understand what I was going through. How did I get to where I was? And that really threw me again into personal development.
Okay.
So psychology, I was just reading every single book I could, listening to everything, learning everything. And then I got sick. A few months later, one day I was literally walking up the stairs in my house, and suddenly I feel like they stabbed me in the back, like a stab. I was just in my house. Nobody was stabbing me. I fell to the floor.
Oh.
Oscar was walking behind me. Thank God. I fell and I couldn't move. I just couldn't move. So after a couple of hours, I don't know why it took a couple of hours, but he called an ambulance, went to the hospital, was in the hospital, ran all sorts of tests, and they couldn't find anything. They said, you have nothing, but you couldn't move. I couldn't move. I couldn't turn my head. Everything hurt. I couldn't move, but they didn't find anything physical that happened. So a friend of mine, again, the wife of one of our friends, she was studying this thing that she called healing.
Mm-hmm.
And she called me and she said, Erika, why don't you come to my house and I'll give you a healing? I was like, what is that thing? And she says, don't worry. But of course I knew her, so I trusted her. I said, whatever. What do I have to do? Will I be naked? She said, no.
That's a good question to ask. Am I going to be naked in this situation?
I said, only you and I. She said, yes, no worries, no nakedness, and only you and me. So I
Threshold question.
How much do I have to reveal? Anyhow, so she lays me down into this massage table, and she says, just breathe. Within 5 minutes, I was completely asleep. But it was just, I cannot tell you, like people talk about when they die, they have this experience that they feel they go to heaven and they see things. Like that is one of the most spiritual experiences that I've ever had. I was in this place I wasn't completely asleep. I was conscious but unconscious, but it was so profoundly spiritual. And I woke up after an hour, 60 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it was, in the most profound state of bliss that I've ever
That
experienced.
just gave me a little chills.
Bliss. Like
And your back, was it hurting?
In heaven.
Oh.
I stood up. I had no pain whatsoever. Wow. My head was perfect. My back was perfect. 1 week in the hospital, Hannah, with, anti-inflammatories and pain meds and nothing. And then 45 minutes of this healing modality. Blissful, no sadness, no physical pain. I was like, she's a witch. Like, what did you do?
Yeah, because our lawyer moms, that are listening, they're going to call a little BS on that.
Yes, of course. Because, again, the regular world, right?
Yeah.
People live only in the regular world.
I live in the woo-woo world. I'm like, oh, yeah, for sure. What's her name? I need her that later.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it
it was like my soul found home. I was like, and I literally stood up from the table and then I said, I don't know what you just did, but I do know that that's what I need to do. So where do I sign up to learn this thing that you do? And then she said, well, here's a website and whatever, and you need to sign up. So I was living in Brazil at the moment. Just to know, just one plane ticket from Brazil to United States in coach is like $3,500. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Wow.
So this school is in Miami, and it was like $15,000 a year, 4 years, bachelor's degree in energy healing science. It's called Barbara Brennan School of Healing, founded by a NASA scientist, and based
Plot
on
twist.
quantum physics, whatever. So now the conversation with the husband, like, where do I find $15,000? I don't have a freaking penny.
Oscar's pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he
That's
wasn't happy. I had small babies and he didn't want me traveling. So he was like, absolutely no. And I was like, well, honey, absolutely yes.
Yeah.
So anyhow, one thing, the other. So I ended up in this school and I did that for 4 years. And
Did
then,
you move to Miami?
Oh.
Wait, I have more in Brazil. Are we commute? I have so many questions. Are we community?
So I was in Brazil and then he got offered a promotion in Miami.
Yes.
Oh,
So-
perfect.
I love that part.
Yes.
Okay.
The universe conspires in your
It
favor.
has your back.
right?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
So anyhow, we moved to Miami, did the school, and that for the very first time showed me that there's another world, which is the world in which the normal people don't live in, which is the spiritual world, is the world of our emotions, spirit, spirituality, which is the real world. This world is not that amazing. It's good, but that one is delicious.
What about people who don't believe in that? God,
Yeah.
woo woo, whatever things. There's a lot of people who don't. What do you say to that? What do you say about that?
It's going to be a struggle. It's a struggle to live in the normal world only, right? And there's tons of research. You asked me, I think you were going to ask me about a book.
Yeah, we're gonna. Well, Kate,
Well,
that was-
I'll ask you about that.
Okay, before we get to it, but
Introduction
can
of
I
the
ask a
book. Yes,
question
yes, ask me
about,
questions.
because the thing with Oscar and y'all being in different places about it brought up a
Do you
question
have
that.
that tissue?
yeah, I got to get out. Hang on. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Kate's turn anyway.
What about, okay, so there's a lot of probably people who are attracted to the woo woo, curious about it, but maybe they're in a partnership where their partner's probably not going to go with that. And so, do you have any advice or thoughts about people who are in partnership and they want to do this journey, but they have a
Yes,
reluctance?
please preach on this. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the first thing, let me just tell you that it really annoys me a little bit. Thank you. That people call it woo.
Oh,
Because
sorry.
not you. I'm not annoyed with you.
well, what do you call it? I don't know what to
Because
say. People know what
the-
I mean, like
No,
crystals and stuff.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
But it's like if it was some crazy stuff, and it's not crazy stuff. It's based on science. Like if you study the work of Einstein, if
Yeah.
you study quantum physics, if you study and read studies and research done by Harvard and Columbia and Stanford, like very reputable institutions, it's all about energy and science. So one of the things that attracted me to this school is that it explained the science behind the phenomenon. So that's why I said, and I will give you other books, but there's this particular book that is called The Field by a researcher. Her last name is McTaggart. It's called The Field. And it explains the science behind the phenomenon that people call woo-woo. And it's not woo-woo, it's just energy and it's science. So yeah, to the question.
Well, that's an answer kind of to both questions, because I guess if someone is having a reluctant partner, one of the ways of invitation is to tie it back to science. So let's
Right.
say someone has a scientific brain and they're like, where are you going? What are you talking about with, healing beds and all of that?
Yeah.
Healed backs.
Start with quantum physics.
Yeah.
If you have to explain this to someone, I would start just researching in quantum physics.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's not even just partnership. It's just out in the life. If
friends.
you're, yeah.
Yeah. Most people are going to say, what? Like, no, you're crazy. And it's okay.
Mhm.
You don't have to convince people. That's one thing that's important. There's nothing that you have to do for others or prove to others. I think what you need to know and do is what is in your heart of hearts. And as long as you follow your own journey and your own desires that are being shown to you by the circumstances that are happening to you, you let people live their lives and you live your lives, including your partner.
How
At
do
some
you
point
get?
will come, either they will join you or not,
Right.
and that's okay.
Mhm.
Was that? I don't know if Oscar's like equally in the same.
No.
As, right. So like
Oscar
I would
is
kind of have
very
a guess.
rational. He's an accountant. I love you guys, but he's a man and he's an accountant and he doesn't really love that world.
So does that that space? Was it hard for you to accept that you were on this journey in this other different world and maybe he wasn't with you? Do you have any advice for that, or you just learned to accept it?
It wasn't difficult for me to accept that I was in this world. It was fabulous. It's really a beautiful journey. It was hard for me to stop wanting him to experience the same bliss that as I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Because I think that I was experiencing so much awakening. That's how I call it, right? Awakening, awareness, and bliss, that it was hard that he did not understand it. And then I couldn't find that deeper sense of communion with him, which is what I really wanted,
Yeah.
to meet me at that level. But at some point I made the choice to stop needing him to change and then find a way of communion that worked for both of us. because you just can't force people to want to go deeper. Just can't.
We've got a lot of comments. I'm going to just scroll through and give you guys some love back. Will Garfield says Hannah's the best.
Heartwheel.
Christy Norcross, such good advice. Marvel at the miracle. Laura Bly, so amazing. Shelly Jean John, hi, amazing ladies. Great interview. Fidel, hi, I'm glad I caught y'all live.
Yay, video.
Somebody, it just says Facebook user. We don't know who this is, but they just said, yep.
That's it. I'm taking that as Sums it up.
Maggie is with you, Hannah, with the woo woo world. We don't know what we don't know.
Hi, Maggie.
And Laura says, thank you, Erika. It's simply spiritual energy. I think we've got some more even. And Shelly says 100% can relate to this conversation. That's awesome. Thank you guys for all of the comments. And if you have any questions for Erika, please put them in the comments. And y'all here in the room, if you have questions, I'm calling on you, Libby, because you always have good questions.
Yeah. I know, well, if anybody's thinking of one here, one thing I always like to ask people who I always say this, one of my best skills is I know who knows what I need to know. In any room, I can determine who knows the thing I need to know and then go to them and figure out how to find it out. So like how you knew with the spiritual back healer lady. So my question for you is 2 parts. Number 1, what is something you wish you'd known a long time ago that you now know and it's super impactful to your life? What do you wish you'd learned sooner? And then the second part, and I'll remind this in a minute, is what's something you were sort of born or innately knew that you didn't have to learn, but that has really served you well that we could take away? So what do you wish you'd known and what have you always known?
So the first question is, what did I wish I knew? I wish I knew earlier. It's going to sound,
Just say whatever.
yeah, but let me just say it and then I'm going to explain it.
Yeah. Okay.
I wish I knew how powerful I am.
Yeah, I preached that one. Yes.
But in the same breath, I'm going to tell you that the only reason why I'm powerful is because I'm never alone. I'm not alone. God is always with me. And me as a regular human being, as a regular woman, I would never be this strong. I am not strong. God gives me strength through the awareness, the mentors, the books, the guides, the friends, the world. That the world, you know how people say the world is your oyster? Like the world is your crib, your oyster. The world is literally birthing you. And I remember when I was very little, I had very scary moments when I was very little, and I was very afraid of a lot of things. And I was very thankful, blessed that I had a phenomenal grandmother. Oh my goodness, my grandmother talked to me about angels and metaphysics. It's just beautiful. And I remember she taught me to pray to angels. And she said, every time that you feel afraid, you can build a shield of protection around you by praying. And I believed her. And I remember walking on the streets alone when I was, 11 or 12 for other reasons. And there was one time, and I've never told this story before.
Oh, you hear here first, y'all.
First, I was, listen, only child, parents divorced, mother working all day long, God bless her heart. So sometimes I had to ride the school bus, and the school bus dropped me in a certain place. And I don't know if people forgot to pick me up or they were just not there. So sometimes, most of the times we're there, but sometimes they weren't there. And I had to walk, and it was a long walk. And it was 3 miles at least. Oh, wow. And there was 2 roads to get to my house. I lived in a beautiful compound, kind of the top of a certain, not mountain, but the top of a mountain. And in Mexico City, and there was a ride. On the right, it was we would go through areas that weren't very nice. And through the left, you would go into beautiful, just very abundant neighborhoods. So I always choose the left.
Yeah.
Because I was alone. I was 11. And I'm walking on this thing, and suddenly this car pulls to my side and starts following me. And I'm 11, and there's this guy in the car alone, creepy. And I start, just very, very scared, and I don't know what to do. By this time, I didn't know how to pray yet, and the field, I didn't know about that shield. So I am really scared. And suddenly he stops. So he stops in front of me. So I need to keep on walking. And when I pass, he just flashed me. This horrendous thing, that humongous thing. I was 11, and I remember I was like, I saw that thing, and what was is scary that he would grab me. The sight was horrendous, but it was the scariness that he would come after me.
Yeah.
So what I did is I started running the opposite way.
Through the scary part.
No, the same street, but this street was only one way.
Okay.
So he had to go forward, and my house was forward, but I started running downhill, and he couldn't go downhill in his car unless he would go in reverse. And I don't remember how fast I just remember at some point I stopped and he was gone. So when he was gone, all I could think is just to run as fast as I could the other direction to get to my house as quickly as I could. So I don't know why I started telling this story, but the thing is, I'm not alone, because in every single difficult moment, all you have to do is pray for guidance and pray for support. And there is 1,000 unseen angels and archangels and forces that will conspire in your favor. So I just wish I knew that earlier, because I did grow up very scared.
Now, what's something, if you have a question, our
Go to the
mics,
mic.
you go to the
You
back of the
gotta go to the
computer
mic.
is the mic.
Oh,
here.
Libby didn't hear the instruction.
Yes, sorry. No,
Okay.
go back there.
Yeah. Let's go to the mic. We do have a question at the mic. Y'all can battle it out to see who goes first.
Okay, hi. Can you hear me? We can hear you. Okay, wonderful. Hi. So Erika, you were talking about going back to that moment where you were on the floor in the bathroom, and I don't remember your exact words, but it sounds like there was kind of a big change for you, that you were thinking you had been kind of a helper and very, dedicated to serving other people as opposed to yourself. And then you made that pretty big change. And I'm just wondering if and how that changed your relationship with Oscar. Was that something that he was attracted to? And then you changed very significantly. And I was just wondering if and how that changed your relationship.
Yeah. So first, let me just clarify that I never stopped wanting to help people. Like I continue to be, very devoted to my family and to my kids. And I just can't help but want to help. That's who I am. But I think it did change the relationship in my marriage at the moment for the better. Because when Oscar met me, I was a very independent and empowered woman. And that's what he married.
Yeah.
But in that moment when I woke up, I was not that woman. So I think that for him, it's like, oh, she's coming back. Now how I came back was a struggle, because I did make some decisions that he was not comfortable with or did not agree with. But the more that I became, and this is important. Thank you so much, Becky, for asking this question, because this is at the core of everything that I do in my life. Unfortunately, women grow up with this explicit and implicit messages that we need to be helpless to be attractive. And, we have Cinderella and Pretty Woman and all these stories that just tell us or suggest that we need to find this prince that is going to save us from our helplessness. And I think that is one of the most damaging messages to women and to girls in the world. I truly believe that in order to have a strong, healthy family, you can't do that without an empowered woman. You just can't. Your whole life and your family life is going to crumble if the woman doesn't have her own space and her own power. And I see it over and over again. Women get married. They hope that their life is going to be a fairy tale for the rest of their lives. And it's everything but a fairy tale, because they lose themselves and they have nothing to give. So this man that fell in love with this woman that was gorgeous at some point in the self-expression of who she is, it's missing in action. Where is this woman that I married? So they become completely disempowered. Obviously, they end up most of the times without their own money, and all sorts of dysfunction starts happening in the house. And what is worse, if God forbid they married a person that is not, or is a little bit abusive or a little bit aggressive, they can't protect the children because they can't leave, because they don't have a penny. And I think that is one of the worst tragedies of our time.
I saw Judge Judy talking the other day on some video or something. I like Judge Judy. She's awesome. But she said to this point that women must never become, or the thing we must do, I guess, is make sure we are financially independent, so that we can make the choices that we need to for ourselves and our children. And in my work all the time, and we get calls all the time, because what I found is this is a very common tale. Women, again, the identity, the motherhood, that's all we are. And then your give a dang gets busted, is what I call it. Like at a certain point, you're over it. And you're like, women are either going to implode inwardly or explode, I think, is what we do. And so what I find is they'll explode. And some men are able to handle that and want that. Like probably Oscar welcomed back that.
Well, he didn't welcome it very much.
or accept it at least, or at least tolerate it, I guess.
Yeah.
Or there'll be others who want to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Mm-hmm.
And those couples, I see that a lot in my job, of like they get divorced usually in 30s, early 40s, where the woman's just like done. Mm-hmm. And so I think Judge Judy and you are right. I mean, of course, Judge Judy, Queen E. I mean, all we gotta do is get Oprah in there, and we are like, that's it.
Trifecta.
Write it down. That's like my trifecta. Oh, and Laura Bly, who's on here. We're gonna add her. And making sure that you have your way out. Not that you ever want to use it, but you want to have the escape hatch. And you got to have some money.
You always need to
do
have
that.
some money, and you always need to have your own professional career. And if you want to stay, you're choosing to stay. You're not staying because you don't have a choice. And I think is that part of just not having a choice, which is so damaging to the self-esteem of the woman, which makes her incapable of fulfilling her motherhood duties of protecting her children.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really, really sad. Now, I also want to say, and I want to honor the fact that when we get pregnant and we give birth, we go inward. Like we go to the nest to protect the children. So we want to stay home and we want to be there with our children. And it is okay as long as it's temporary. Like don't lose yourself forever, right? It's okay if you have the financial means and a partnership that allows you to stop working for, I don't know, a year and a half. I don't know, whatever you need, but don't lose yourself in the process. Because, I mean, I was also a life coach and a business coach, and all these women all the time with 2 children, 3 children. Oh, he just had an affair, or he just left me, or he's abusive, or this or that, and they can't leave.
I almost fell into that trap when my daughter Nora was born, who's almost 10 now. And I went back. I was working at a job, and I went back the first day back from maternity leave, and I tried to quit because I was like, I can't do this. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And luckily, all the people in my life who knew me, they're like, no, you don't. No, you don't. But we worked out a little, more gentle re-entry. But it is confusing when you've got that little baby, you know?
Yeah.
I think we've got another question. If we can go to the mic.
So I think that the question that I have to offer to you today, Erika, is actually connected to this theme that I've been listening to along the course of this podcast today, which is how embracing change, receiving change is connected to our divine femininity. So you use the phrase, which I'm going to muse with for a long time now, that life is always birthing us, right? So I'm thinking about how seasonal change is and how change comes and goes. When we have littles, they don't stay little. When we have tweeners, they don't stay tweeners. When we have adult kids, they don't stay adult kids. We're all of us are progressing through change. A while ago, I received this beautiful mantra that I've used quite often in my prayer life, which is surfing the seas of change with love as my center of gravity. So would you just share with us a little bit about what embracing change means to you, and maybe some best practices when we're going through those seasonal changes, to shed what doesn't serve anymore and to pick up what needs to serve us for the next wave or two?
See, I told you guys. I
Always.
told you.
So
Yes,
good. Libby is
question.
amazing. We all love Libby. So, it helps me to use this particular analogy. If you think about a river, the river is healthy and it has life, and sometimes it has fishes or it has life in it because the water is moving. There is movement, there is change, there is transformation and renewal. If you take that same river and you block the circulation and it gets stagnated, what happens to the water?
It gets stinky.
Nasty.
It gets stinky, it gets nasty,
Bugs.
green, bugs, animals, most likely the fishes are going to die because there's no more oxygen. So I believe that people resist change because they perceive that they're going to lose something. And at least what I've found is that when you're going through change, what is really going on is you're getting more of you and more of others. Just different. So, again, Joseph Campbell, life is a mystery. Life is a journey, and life is a mystery. And I think that as in the regular world, as rational beings, our mind it has this compulsion of always having all the answers.
Mhm.
And we just need to know why and how and when. And if we believe that we don't have those answers, or we don't have those answers, we start going a little bit insane. And then we get anxiety and stress and fear, and our life is a disaster. But life is a mystery. What if you could lean into the mystery of not having the answers? Because you're a willing participant on this sacred journey of discovering and building your own unique journey.
Mhm.
Because your journey is not Kate's journey, and it's not my journey, and it's certainly not my mother's journey, and not my sister's journey. It's my journey, and it's what works for me. I don't have to live my life according anyone else's rules or what works for others. I need to live my life according to what is good for me. Of course, without inflicting in, the freedom of others or being a nasty human being. No, with love and with compassion. But could we just please stop looking for all the answers and be okay with not knowing and letting life inform you of just the next step? If you can just see the next step, which 99% of the times we know what that just one next step is, even if the next step is I need to take a nap, or I need to go to sleep and tomorrow will be a different day, or I need to just, I just need to finish this brief because that's all I can do right now. If you just take one step at a time and fall in love with the mystery.
I think underlying your question, Libby, that I was thinking about is, I read somewhere, and it may be in one of the books you're talking about, Erika, that the fundamental determining factor in whether your life is going to go good or not is how you view the universe. Do you view that you're in a good universe that is out for good or not? And I think to accept change, puts right in front of you the answer to the question. Because if the universe is good, if things conspire for good versus bad, then change will be more along that path. But I think it really begs that question, like, how do you see? Are things out to get me? Are things out to help me? And I think that's a root question that I've always thought that it's good. just naturally think that. But I know that that's not true for everyone. They have a little bit more of that. So I think the other thing I do about change is no good story ever went like this. And then everything stayed just as it was. The end. Right.
Yes.
So like every good anything you ever want to hear is like, ooh, and then what happens? Like it's inherent in our human nature to want to know, and then what? So if nothing else, it inserts a plot twist in your life, right? Something different. Maybe it's going to be kind of crappy or not, but at least something, right? Versus just the same, I think. So
Right.
something I think
And I
about.
think with what you're saying is we go back to this idea of it's not only enjoying the journey, which is awesome, just learning to overcome the struggle. Because it is in the struggle that we, there's this quote that I absolutely love from the Bible, by the way, and I've shared it with you guys. When we seek, or when you seek, you shall find. When you seek, you shall find trouble, and in the trouble, you shall find God. Right? So it is in the struggle that we find more of ourselves, that we find more meaning, that we have more spirituality, that we have more life, that we have more wisdom. Like we, again, take a kid and put him in a protected bubble with special air, with no microbes and no hazards and no nothing. And the kid is going to become sick.
Right.
Is not going to be able to function even for a second outside of that little bubble. But, in South America, the kids, they are crawling on the dirt. And there is not nearly as many allergies and sicknesses as American kids have even, right? So it's in the struggle that you find yourself.
Well, and those struggles, they become the crown jewel of your life.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Like when you talked about that moment, I can just feel standing in the bathroom, catching a glance. But of all the good you've experienced, that moment is a crown jewel. I think of it like that, like of the really hard, and I have some stories like that of like this moment as you just wouldn't trade it. You don't know that in the moment. You don't even know the moment's happening to you. Right. But later when you reflect back in that struggle and that overcome, becomes a treasure if you let it, right? Especially if you
Because it makes you humble. The problem when everything is going well is that sometimes you lose a little bit of yourself in the success, in the I've got this, if I'm strong, and then life and God has a way to remind you that you don't know it all. And suddenly just something happens and your heart is completely devastated. And then you become humble and you find more of yourself. I always remember this movie, Pray, Eat, and Love.
Eat, Pray, Love. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like the first scene where
So good.
she's in her house and she drops to the floor and she
Uh-huh.
starts praying.
Uh-huh.
It's like, God, please help me. Please help me because I don't know what to do. Right. And then she hears Liz go to bed. And then she goes to bed. And then her husband at a time opens his eyes and she says, I don't want to be married anymore. And she was dying in that marriage. And it's like that, it's like there's ups and there's downs. And it is in those moments where you are reminded that you're just a mere human. Then in those moments, you find God again and you become superhuman. Oh, such mystery.
And I love it. It's like takes us full circle to the beginning of this, where we start with breath.
Mm-hmm.
You can't find the lesson in the moment. And then this is what it looks like in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where you get after the curveballs.
Yeah.
And Erika, the last one, I wanted to answer that question. It's going to be a dangling participle in my mind. What did you always know? What's something that in your core you always knew that we can learn?
Oh my goodness. That I always knew.
She had to answer this for me.
Yeah. So
earlier.
for me, I always knew to make the brave choice.
Yeah, you just told us earlier. I don't know how you do that. That is just amazing.
I don't know.
Yes.
I'm always, who needs to go first? Me. Who's going to volunteer? Me. Who's going to raise their hand? Me. I just always just be brave. So I know that's something nobody life didn't have to teach me that. I just knew that. So, and Kate, we talked through what yours is. So
I didn't know what mine was, but Hannah thought of it. It felt really right, which is that the rainbow, things are better with the rainbow. And, that's why I do immigration law and diversity and
multitude of thought,
yes.
different kinds of people, different
yes.
whatever.
So
is there anything
yeah.
for you that you've just always known?
Well, I don't know if this is just normal, but since I was a little kid, I always do the hard stuff. Not the brave stuff. I wouldn't say brave, but hard. Like, for example, when I was going to college, I wanted to get into this very elite college in Mexico. I was like, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know. I had straight A's and everything, but I don't know if I can make it. And just looking at it's like there were others before me. If somebody else can do it, I can do it. It's just I can't do this thing. Just always leaning into always becoming just 1% better.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you do, just do the hard stuff, become stronger. I think that's why it was so difficult for me that moment when I woke up in Brazil, because I had everything but strength. I was not strong. And it was so unsettling. But it's just do the things that are going to make you or help you become extraordinary. And lean into that.
That's what at our event. So the Law Moms in Austin had an event recently, and we saw Gloria Steinem and Margaret Atwood at the Paramount Theater. It was way, way fun.
Mm-hmm.
And my big takeaway from the whole speech was it Gloria that said it?
It was Gloria.
Gloria that said that wake up every day and say, what outrageous thing am I going to do today?
Yeah.
And that question versus same, the end,
Mm-hmm.
not an interesting story. Right? And like,
Who's gonna write a book with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you were going to ask about books.
Oh, well, we got it. You gave us the book, The Field.
Well, 3. What are 3 books you have to
3
read?
books.
The
Oh my
Hero's
goodness.
Journey
Book
one?
Club assignments.
Well, the hero's journey, it's if you are into personal development and you've been into personal development for many years, I think that the Hero with 1,000 Faces from Joseph Campbell,
Okay.
it's definitely a must, but it is a very deep philosophical book. Like, it's not a novel. It's going to be hard to read for most
Hero
people.
with 1,000 Faces.
The Hero with 1,000
So that
Faces. That's but the one, The Field.
The Field.
The Field is phenomenal to understand the science behind the phenomenon that we call woo-woo.
Mm-hmm.
I really, this book, Finding Your Way in a Wild New World by Martha Beck.
Ah, yeah.
Oh my God, so good. And she talks about finding your journey, like finding your purpose and finding yourself outside of the regular world. And it's just so good.
Well, and that she informed. So, Erika, you'd recently told me very specifically and very significantly to me about the Anatomy of a Calling.
Yes.
And I think several of us in this room are now reading that book. And Martha Beck was a big influence on her, right?
Yes.
And I want to mention that book as
Yeah.
sort of like your number 4, because you told me this.
Lisa Rankin.
Yeah, Lisa Rankin. Okay,
Yes.
I've always felt this strong sense in my heart since I was little of purpose, of meant to do, meant to be something, this urge. And I know a lot of people watching this, y'all feel the same way. And when I was asking Erika this, I was expressing this kind of angst, I guess, that it feels like. She prescribed that book to me. And it has been incredible, like to the point I thought it was kind of a joke. Like I was like looking around, like, did Erika, like, is this a joke? Did somebody write it? Like literally, actually for me, it felt almost creepy
Right.
level about the phone ringing and all that. So I recommend you put that on your list too.
Could I add 2?
Yes.
Just in case,
Yes.
for
Why are you
whatever
telling me in
reason.
many books? I got the paper. Kate's remarkable. She's always bragging about. And I'm like, no, but today I'm taking it over. Let me write it down.
Because I told
I'm
you about this
celebrating.
thing about helping women become more empowered, to get out of this yicky places where sometimes we put ourselves into. So if anybody is looking or watching this and is in a difficult, personal position, there's 2 books that I absolutely love. The Beginner of My Journey with The Women Who Love Too Much.
The Women Who Love Too Much.
Women Who Love Too Much. I can't remember exactly the author, but she has a lot of. So the Women Who Love Too Much. And the second one is The Verbally Abusive Relationship by Patricia Evans.
Mm.
And those 2 books, The Women Who Love Too Much, will help you understand your own part in the dysfunction if you're living any kind of difficult relationships, and the part of just giving yourself too much. And then The Verbally Abusive Relationship explains why it happens. So you don't feel like a lot of women that are stuck into an abusive relationship believe it's them. You know, if I was stronger or wiser or more thin or more beautiful or more this, and it is not you. It is
No.
not you.
No.
Right? So it explains the problem that they are experiencing so they can understand, number one, that it's not them, and number two, how to get out of it.
Awesome. Okay. Whew.
Good one.
I know.
Thank you, Erica.
Oh, that's a lot to take in. I
I'm
got
gonna
my
watch
book
this again.
list. There's like 20 books on my nightstand. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna add a couple more. Erica, thanks for doing this with
Thank
us.
you so much.
Thank
for
you,
having
everybody
me.
who came and did this.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
you.
Hey, wait. Don't take me off, producer. There's a book link. Vanessa, shout out on Facebook, linked to Erica's book.
There we go.
Very handy.
Yes.
All right, there we go. Add to cart.
Yeah.
Thanks, Erica.
Thank
for
you
coming.
so much.
guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.